The envelope is sealed, yellow with age, covered in dust. It has clearly not been touched in decades. The woman holding it is shaking, not from fear, from the weight of what she is about to reveal. She is 73 years old. Her name is Margaret Sullivan. She has traveled from rural Tennessee to be here. And in her trembling hands, she holds something that will shatter everything Oprah Winfrey thinks she knows about her own story. The cameras are rolling. The audience is watching. 400 people lean forward in their seats because something is happening that was not in the script. Something is happening that no one expected. Margaret holds up the envelope. She turns it so the cameras can see, so Oprah can see. And Oprah sees the name written in faded ink. Her name, Oprah Gail Winfrey. But this is not her handwriting. This is not a letter she received. This is not something she has ever seen before. This envelope is addressed to her, but it is dated 1959. 5 years before she was born. Oprah's face goes pale. "What is this?" she asks. Margaret looks at her with eyes that hold 64 years of secrets. "This," she says, "is a letter from your grandmother, written to you before you existed, predicting everything you would become, and explaining why you had to be born." The studio goes silent, and Margaret begins to tell a story that will reach back through time and pull apart the very fabric of what Oprah has always believed about fate, destiny, and the power of those who loved us before we ever took our first breath. How we get here? Rewind 113 minutes. The morning had begun with routine. Today's show was supposed to be about family legacies. 3 guests were scheduled, women who had inherited something unexpected from their grandmothers. A recipe book that launched a restaurant empire. A journal that revealed a family's hidden history. A piece of jewelry with a secret message engraved inside. Standard programming. Emotional but contained. Predictable. Margaret Sullivan had not been on the guest list. She had arrived at the studio at 8 a.m. She had approached the security desk with a determination that startled the guards. "I need to see Oprah Winfrey," she had said. "I have something that belongs to her. Something she needs to see today." The guard had smiled politely. "Ma'am, everyone wants to see Oprah. You need a ticket or an appointment." Margaret had shaken her head. "You do not understand," she had said. "I have been waiting 64 years to deliver this. I promised I would, and I am not leaving until I do." She had reached into her bag. She had pulled out the envelope. "Show her this," she had said. "Tell her it has her name on it. Tell her it is from her grandmother Hattie Mae. Tell her the date." The guard had looked at the envelope. Something in Margaret's eyes had made him pause. Something certain. Something unshakable. He had called upstairs. He had described the situation. And 30 minutes later, Margaret Sullivan was being escorted into the studio. Not to the green room. Not to a waiting area. Directly to a seat in the front row, where she sat for 2 hours, holding the envelope, waiting for a moment. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most powerful part of this story is still ahead. The show had begun normally. The first guest had shared her grandmother's recipe book. The second guest had revealed her grandmother's hidden journal. The third guest had displayed the mysterious jewelry. Each segment had been emotional. Each story had been compelling. And then Oprah had asked if anyone in the audience had a story to share. It was a standard practice. She did it often. Inviting spontaneous moments. Creating space for the unexpected. She had not expected this. Margaret had raised her hand. Oprah had called on her. And Margaret had stood. Slowly. Deliberately. She had walked to the aisle. She had approached the stage. And she had held up the envelope. The moment Oprah saw her name on that aged paper, something shifted. The professional warmth disappeared. In its place was something raw. Something vulnerable. Something that looked like the beginning of an earthquake in her soul. "Please," Oprah said. "Come up here. Tell me what this is." Margaret climbed the 3 steps to the stage. She sat in the empty chair beside Oprah. She set the envelope on the table between them, and she began to speak. "Your grandmother Hattie Mae Lee," Margaret said. "She was my neighbor for 17 years. In Kosciuszko, Mississippi." Oprah nodded slowly. "I knew that name. I knew that town. We grew up together," Margaret continued. "Hattie Mae was 20 years older than me, but she took me under her wing. She taught me things. About life. About faith. about the power of believing in something before you can see it. She touched the envelope. In 1959, Margaret said, Hattie Mae came to me with this envelope. She said she had a vision, a dream. Something had come to her in the night and shown her the future. She paused. She said she had seen a child, a girl, who would be born from her family line, who would grow up to speak to millions, who would change the world with her voice. Oprah's breath caught. She described you, Margaret said. Exactly. Before you were born. Before your mother was even pregnant. She described the woman you would become. She picked up the envelope, and she wrote you this letter, she said. A letter to a granddaughter who did not exist yet. A letter full of everything she wanted you to know. Everything she wanted you to carry. Everything she believed you were destined to be. She held out the envelope. She made me promise to deliver it to you, she said. But only when the time was right. Only when you had become everything she had seen. She said I would know when that moment came. She looked at Oprah. I'm 73 years old, she said. I'm running out of time. And I finally understood. The moment is now. You have become everything she saw. And you need to know that before you existed, you were already loved. Already believed in. Already destined. Behind the scenes, Oprah made a decision that defied every producer's expectation. She did not call for verification. She did not question the authenticity. She did not protect herself from potential manipulation. Something in her gut told her this was real. Something in Margaret's eyes told her this was true. And something in that envelope was calling to her. May I open it? Oprah asked. Margaret nodded. It has waited 64 years, she said. It is ready. Oprah picked up the envelope. Her hands were trembling. She turned it over. The seal was intact. A wax seal, pressed with what looked like a thimble. Her grandmother's thimble. She remembered it. Hattie Mae had always worn a thimble, even when she was not sewing. She said it reminded her to keep making things. Keep creating. Keep stitching together a better life. Oprah broke the seal. She reached inside. She pulled out a single sheet of paper, folded carefully, yellow by time. She unfolded it, and she saw her grandmother's handwriting. The same handwriting from birthday cards she had received as a child. The same handwriting from notes left on the kitchen table. The same handwriting she had not seen since Hattie Mae died in 1963. This is the moment no one in the studio and no one watching at home ever saw coming. Oprah began to read aloud. January 17th, 1959. To my granddaughter who has not yet been born. She stopped. She looked at the date. 5 years before I was born, she whispered. She continued reading. I do not know your name yet. I do not know what you will look like. I do not know how you will come into this world. But I know you, because I have seen you. In a dream, so clear it felt more real than waking. Oprah's voice wavered. In my dream, I saw a woman. Strong, powerful, speaking to millions. Her voice carried across the land like nothing I have ever heard. People leaned in to listen. People cried at her words. People changed because of what she said. She wiped her eyes. And I knew, somehow, that this woman was coming for me. For my family. For my blood. I knew that everything I had suffered, every struggle I had endured, every prayer I had whispered into the darkness, had been preparing the way for her. The audience was completely silent. For you. Oprah could barely speak now. She forced herself to continue. I do not know if I will live to see you. I do not know if I will hold you in my arms. But I want you to know that I love you already. I believe in you already. And I have been working my whole life to give you a foundation strong enough to stand on. She turned the page. There is more. The world will try to break you. The letter continued. People will doubt you. They will tell you that a black woman from Mississippi cannot become what you are meant to become. They will put walls in your path. They will try to shrink you. They will try to silence you. Oprah nodded slowly. Do not listen. The words hit her like a wave. You are not born to be small. You are not born to be silent. You were born to speak, to shine, to lift others with your light. I have seen it, and what I have seen cannot be undone. She read the next passage. I am leaving you this letter so that when the road gets hard, when you feel alone, when you wonder if you're on the right path, you will have proof. Proof that before you took your first breath, someone was praying for you. Someone was believing for you. Someone was preparing the ground for your feet to walk on. Oprah broke down. The tears came freely now. She could not control them. She could not contain them. 64 years of love poured out of that letter and into her heart. Margaret reached over and touched her hand. "Keep reading," she said gently. "The end is the most important part." Oprah steadied herself. She found the final paragraph. "One day, when you have become everything I have seen, I want you to remember this. You're not self-made. No one is. You were made by love, by sacrifice, by the dreams of those who came before you. You stand on their shoulders. You carry their hopes. You fulfill their prayers." She reached the last lines. "So when you speak to millions, speak for us too. For all the black women who never got the chance. For all the grandmothers who dreamed big but lived small. For all the ancestors who planted seeds they would never see bloom. You are the harvest. You are the answer. You are the proof that our suffering was not in vain." She folded the letter. She held it against her heart. "Forever yours before you existed. Your grandmother Hattie Mae Lee." Share and subscribe. Make sure this story is never forgotten. For a long moment, no one spoke. The weight of what had just been read filled the studio. 64 years. A letter written before Oprah was conceived. A vision of who she would become. A love that transcended time. Oprah finally looked at Margaret. How did she know? She whispered. How could she possibly have known? Margaret shook her head. "I did not pretend to understand it," she said. Hattie Mae was a woman of deep faith. She believed in things she could not see. She trusted dreams that made no logical sense. And she acted on them anyway. She paused. "When she gave me this letter," she said, "she told me something I have never forgotten." "What?" Margaret looked at Oprah with eyes full of 64 years of faithfulness. She said, "One day that baby girl is going to change the world. And when she does, she's going to wonder if she deserves it. She's going to wonder if she is good enough. She's going to wonder if it was all just luck." Margaret squeezed Oprah's hand, and she said, "That is when you give her this letter. So she knows it was never about her being good enough. It was about her being chosen, long before she was born. Chosen by love, chosen by faith, chosen by the prayers of those who came before her." Oprah broke down again, but this time it was different. This time it was not grief. It was release. It was the laying down of a burden she had carried her whole life. The burden of wondering if she deserved her success. The burden of wondering if she was enough. The burden of imposter syndrome that even the most successful people carry. And now, in her grandmother's handwriting, she had the answer. She had always been enough. She had been enough before she existed. She had been loved before she was born. She had been believed in before she took her first breath. The letter was dated 1959, 5 years before she existed, and it described exactly who she would become. The episode ended differently than any before. Oprah did not summarize. She did not redirect. She simply sat there with the letter in her hands, and she spoke directly to the camera. "I have spent my life trying to prove I was worthy," she said. "Worthy of love, worthy of success, worthy of my place in this world. I thought I had to earn it. I thought I had to achieve it. I thought worthiness was something I created through effort." She held up the letter. "But this letter proves otherwise," she said. "My grandmother loved me before I existed. She believed in me before I was born. She saw my potential before I took my first breath." She paused. "And if she could love me then, before I had done anything, before I had achieved anything, before I had proven anything, then maybe worthiness is not something we earn. Maybe it is something we are born with. Maybe it is our birthright." She looked at the audience. "Maybe you were believed in before you were born too," she said. "Maybe someone prayed for you, dreamed about you, hoped for you. Maybe you come from a long line of love that started before you existed." She smiled through her tears. "Maybe you have always been enough." The letter was authenticated within days. Handwriting experts confirmed it matched Hattie Mae Lee's other documents. Paper analysis confirmed the age. The wax seal matched the thimble found among Hattie Mae's belongings. Everything checked out. The letter was real. The vision was real. The love was real. Oprah had it framed. It hangs in her private office now, in a place where she can see it every day. A reminder, Not of her success, of her origin, of the love that called her into being, of the faith that shaped her before she was formed. Margaret Sullivan became a regular presence in Oprah's life, the keeper of memories, the bridge to the past, the living connection to Hattie Mae Lee. She told stories about Oprah's grandmother that no one else knew. Small details, favorite foods, ways of speaking, habits and quirks. She filled in gaps that had been empty for decades. She gave Oprah her grandmother back, not literally, but spiritually. Through story, through memory, through the power of witness. Margaret died 2 years after that first meeting. She was 75 years old, peaceful, fulfilled. She had completed the mission she had been given 64 years earlier. She had delivered the letter. She had kept her promise. She could rest. The Hattie Mae Lee Foundation was established in her honor. It supports young Black women pursuing careers in media and communications. It provides scholarships, mentorship, and resources. It carries forward the vision Hattie Mae had in 1959, a vision of Black women speaking to millions, changing the world with their voices, being the harvest of generations of hope. Oprah speaks about the letter often now. She tells people that she used to believe she was self-made. She does not believe that anymore. I was made by love, she says, by sacrifice, by prayers whispered in the dark by people I never met. I stand on their shoulders. I carry their dreams. I am the fulfillment of hopes that were planted before I was born. She pauses when she says this. And so are you, she adds. We all come from somewhere. We all carry the love of those who came before us. We are never alone. We're never starting from scratch. We are always building on foundations we did not lay. There is one final detail that most people do not know. When the letter was unfolded for authentication, something fell out. A small object, wrapped in tissue paper, hidden in the fold of the letter for 64 years. It was a thimble, Hattie Mae's thimble, the one she always wore, the one she had pressed into the wax seal. It had been waiting inside the letter, waiting for Oprah, waiting to be reunited with the granddaughter who did not exist when it was placed there. Oprah wears it now, on a chain around her neck, close to her heart, a reminder of where she comes from, a reminder of who believed in her first, a reminder that love does not require presence. It only requires faith. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss another story like this, because there are more letters waiting to be opened, more visions waiting to be fulfilled, more love waiting to be discovered, and somewhere in your family, someone believed in you before you were born. Someone prayed for you. Someone dreamed about you. Someone planted seeds they would never see bloom. You are the harvest. You are the answer. You are the proof that their love was not in vain. Remember that. Carry that. Become that. And pass it on.